Hey everybody, what's up? Today's video I thought I'd play a bunch of Super Turbos, all at the $20 level. Um, so I hope you enjoy it. And I played pretty aggressively, jamming over limps now and again, and trying to take note of my opponent's tendencies and exploit them. But when the structure's this quick, you don't really have much chance to do that. So let's get on with it. The first hand, ace 2, and I'm going to min raise, and he 3 bets me to 80, and I should jam or fold. I think flatting this is pretty weak. You're not going to hit a floppable, you're not going to flop a good hand enough to make this a good flat call. But I do flat call, which as I said I think is wrong, and then have to give up. So that was a waste of 40 chips and not particularly strong play. But just because I've made a mistake doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It means you can learn from it and not do it yourself. Alright, next hand he limps, and horrible flop for me, and not getting any better. And I hit a 6 on the river, but I can't imagine getting called by any worse. I'll just check it down. And my 6 is good, so interesting that he didn't bet that flop with a gut shot. Alright, next hand, the min raise, and he flats it. And here, down to 400 chips, 80 in the pot. It's a pretty wet board. I don't want to bet 40 or 60 and have him call, because there's no turn card coming that I want to see. A 3 or a 5 or a 4 or 2 is going to be horrible. Any overcard will be horrible except for a queen. So I'm just going to jam it in there. If he wants to call me, he can. And he lets it go. Alright, so it looks like this guy's limping. And he stabs. He didn't stab at the last one. I'll have to give it up. And I try a min raise. Cold again. Now, this time my top pair is also... it's kind of a medium top pair. So while I was really worried about the 6, I'm not quite so worried about the 10. I'm going to take a bit more of a chance and just bet 60 chips. And he calls me, and the 8's got to be a good card, but I don't really want to see a river now. Obviously I don't want to see a queen or a jack or a 7 or a 6, etc., or a 9. So now I'm just going to stick it in. If he wants to call me on a draw or anything, he can. And he doesn't. I got the lead back, and he's still limping. And he stabs again. Let him have it. And folds my min raise, which is nice. And alright, that's the third time he's stabbed in a row there. I think he's limping and stealing, which is working pretty well, so I'm not attacking his limps. Alright, pocket 7s. This time I'm going to attack his limp and just shove them in. And fold the next one. After I've shoved someone, there's a sort of psychological moment where you're a little bit worried that they might shove you, so I tend to fold a mediocre hand there. Alright, king 10, and I have a stab because every time I check he's been stabbing. Well, not every time, but frequently, and I don't want him to do that anymore. And he raises me, so I'm going to let that go. So there was some logic there. Fold my 7-3. And my queen 2, min raise this, and he folds. And right, he's taken another stab. Really haven't hit a flop. Not a lot I can do about it. I guess at the moment I'm not under too much pressure. Here, in a normal match, I'd be worried that this hits his calling range. I don't think he's going to have a lot of aces in his range. I think he would have re-raised or shoved, and therefore I can c-bet this and only really be worried about the king. And he folds, so that's good. So board texture for the win there. And checking behind, hitting the 5 on the river, just betting here. I didn't bet when I hit the river before. I'm betting here because I think I'm ahead for a start, and it's possible he may call me the worst, and also I don't want him to steal. And that takes it down. Then I fold my jack 2. And he's still limping and stabbing and stealing, and there's just not much I can do. Haven't hit a flop yet. And he 3 bets my min raise. Let that go. And here I try stabbing so that he doesn't stab, My other option is giving up or check raising, and I don't like either of those. That takes it down. That was a useful pot. And we're still pretty even here. And I try the stabbing thing again, and I'm going to fire second barrel here because I don't really believe that he's got anything. I think he's floating me. I think he would have raised with a queen, and 7 could be in his range, but I'm going to try and push him around, and that works. He folds, so that was very nice. And I bet this flop. Not the greatest flop. I mean, I've hit something on it, but I mean, it could well hit his calling range. I think with higher cards he'd be re-raising and shoving, and sort of lower cards he might not be calling. But I take it down, so if in doubt, bet. And I could bet this one, but I bet the last couple, so I bet not, and I just give it up. Alright, shoving king queen I think is pretty standard for about 7 big blinds roughly. Horrible flop which he stabs. So his little sort of limping and stabbing thing is working out pretty well for him, and not much I can do. This is obviously a nice flop. Pair and a flush draw. I bet and get called, and he's got 170 left. I don't think I've much fold equity, but I'm just going to shove here, which I do, and he folds. So that worked out pretty well. I think it's a bit weak of him to call and then fold the turn. And obviously ace 2 I would have gotten in, and I had to stick queen 6 in. I'm ahead, and then hit on the turn, luckily, and that's the end of that match. Alright, next one. Min raise with ace 9, would have called if he shipped, but he didn't. And he shoves. Obviously I'm going to fold this, and the fact that he shoved there has kind of influenced me. This is interesting. I don't think an ace is going to be in his range because he's flattered my call. Therefore, I think I'm ahead here unless he's got a 9 with a better kicker. So I am prepared to get it in here if he raises me. If he raised me to 120, I'd shove for sure. If he shoved me, I think he could have a lot of stuff like sort of 7-8 or 5-7 or a flush draw or something like that, or possibly a better 9. But he folds. Alright, min raising, which I call. Horrible flop, and not much better on the turn. Oh, when we've hit the river, I'm going to check just in case he wants to try and bluff, and obviously I'll be calling, full pot at least, but he checks behind. Alright, queen 9, raise and he shoves, okay, and then this is a nice flop. Once he, if he bets this, I'll be jamming. I've got a pair, second pair and a gut shot. And now I bet the turn to stop him, and 8 looks like a good card. Don't think he's on an 8, so I'll simply bet for value and hope he doesn't have a queen, and he folds. Alright, 6-6, he's down to 13 big blinds, just shove it, and he calls me on queen 10. Good enough flop, but he hits the turn, and never mind. Alright, and now king 2 at sort of 8 big blinds. I've got to get that in. He's got a worse hand, but the flop is kind to him, and that's that match. Alright, so rematch with this guy. Start off with queen 8, and he didn't seem to do much wrong, this guy, but he was shoving sort of pre-flop for a full stack, and also shoving over my min raise a little bit. Alright, so min raising. Once again, don't put him on an ace here. So betting this and taking it down, pretty standard. And ace 4 he min raises, and I just shove. And I think there that he's shoved pre-flop, and over my min raise, so I think I've got a lot of fold equity here. He hasn't got a hand which he's going to shove. I should be okay, and he folds. Alright, fold my 6-10, and flat call with the king, and that's a rather nice flop. And I'm just going to bet here, not too much, don't want to scare him off, and obviously a little bit of value on the river 60. If he's got anything, he should call this, and he doesn't. queens, min raise, please shove your low, but he folds. That's a little unlucky. And now king 10 for 16 big blinds. I'm going to shove it, and he folds. That's good. And he's getting a little passive here. He must be going through a run of bad cards. Alright, and he's folding. So while he's folding, I don't have to get too desperate. I'm happy to fold my jack 6 and stuff. He's got a big enough stack to worry me, but as long as he's not putting under too much pressure, then I'm happy just to wait for the right spot. And he folds again. King 5. What is it? Is that 12 big blinds? No, God, it's not. My maths has gone bad, hasn't it? It's 9 big blinds I'll shove. And he calls on king queen. Meh. And he doubles up there, never mind. And then shoves, so I'll fold. And I shove my king 10 here. And we pick up a7. And I think that's got to go in. And he's got king 10. And can we hold, please? Yes, we can. So that's 1 apiece against this opponent. Alright, and nothing he did wrong. Oh, I haven't actually won it, have I? I've only doubled up. So we better finish him off. Folds my jacks. Can't do much with 2-7. And jack 5. 5.5 big blinds. I'm sure this is probably a call with Nash, but I'm going to let it go. Don't know if that's an error. And shove the king 5. And 5 on the turn is nice, and then another 5 on the river. Alright, here he min raises, and I decide to jam the 5-4 over the top, which might look a little weird, but with 60 chips sitting there, I think it's a fairly large reward, and very big chance he's going to fold. He hasn't shoved, which he's been doing for a full stack before, so I don't think that he's that strong. So I shove my 5-4, and I've completely messed up. He's got pocket 8s. I think my read, like my idea pre-flop wasn't that terrible, and I was prepared to go with my hand. It just didn't work, and he flops. He turns an 8, but I've got a few outs here. I can catch a 7 or a heart, which would be cruel. And in fact, I catch a heart on the river. That is very cruel. I feel a bit bad about that, but it's the way it goes. Right, pocket 9s, and it would be so good if he just min raised me and I would shove it, because he would not expect me to have pocket 9s after I just shoved 5-4, but he folds, unfortunately. Alright, min raise, double gut shot here, and what I decide to do is bet 40. I think it would be better for me to shove. I don't want him to sort of make a play at me, and I think the shove would work better, but that's in hindsight. As it was, I bet 40 and he folded, but I think in hindsight I'd rather shove it. Alright, 5-7, I'll let that go. Raise my 9-10, he shoves. Alright, pick up ace-8, and he shoves again. That's probably good enough to call, but he's got ace-10, ouch, and not many outs for me here. I could catch a king or an 8. Either of those would work. And an 8 on the river. I mean, king for a split, but yeah. An 8 on the river, that was pretty lucky. Alright. Pocket 3s. Got a new opponent here. He folds there, and I return the favour with 10-4. Now he's 3xing. So I'll be looking for hands I can shove over and punish his 3x. And this is not the greatest board for someone that's flat called my min raise pre-flop. I think it's going to hit a lot of his range. So let's have a look here. I'm going to bet half pot, and he folds, thank goodness. Obviously I'd be giving up unless I hit on the turn there, or especially if he raised me. And this time he limps. And I'm going to have a stab because I don't think this should hit his limping range. And he calls me, which I think is an 8 or hearts. So yeah, I don't think I can push him off his 8 very easily. Especially seeing he might have an 8 with a heart. He might have the 8 of hearts, or he might have a heart for his kicker there. So I'm just going to give up now. and he actually did have king 8. Don't think I would have got him off the second barrel, but I'm not sure. And the reason I thought it was an 8 because I think he would have raised with an ace and possibly a queen pre-flop. Alright, I raised my queen 7, and here I bet 60 in the 80 pot because I don't want him to call with overcards, which is going to be a lot of his range. So I'm going to make it sort of price him out to do that, and he folds. Alright, he limps, and I'm going to shove my ace 4 over his limp, and he folds. And I could shove ace 4 again from the button, but he shoves, so I'll let it go. And I think just a little deep. Queen Jack. How many big blinds are we? 15, 16. I'm sure this is a call according to Nash, but I shall pass. A little tighter than Nash, as you can see. And we're going to bet here, try and take it down on a fairly dry board, and do that successfully. So this guy, I think I can outplay post-flop, or at least get a lot of folds post-flop. So because of that, I don't want to be shoving too much pre-flop. And just a bunch of junk which I'm folding. And he 3x's me again, which obviously I'll let go. And I'm going to raise this. And pretty dry flop, I bet, and I'm quite shocked that I get called. Not sure what he's got here, not sure at all. And now I'm going to check it down. The only thing that makes sense really is an underpair. I mean, when you think about it, I think he would bet a queen. He would have bet a 6 for sure on the river. I guess he might not have bet a queen if he puts me on an ace. But yeah, I mean, an underpair is actually what he turns out to have. And at the time, I didn't put him on the underpair. It was afterwards when I saw pocket 2s. I thought, oh yeah, of course, that's one of the few things that makes sense. And I wish I had shoved my 7s pre-flop. I think he would have called with 2s and I would have won the match right here. Alright, he limps. I'm going to shove ace 5 suited. And king 5. He's got, what is it, 8 big blinds or a bit more. That's a clear shove. And here we've hit middle pair. I'm going to bet. Get called. Now he could be calling on any sort of draw here. So when the jack comes, I definitely don't think he's got a jack now. I'm just going to shove it in, make him pay for his draw. And unfortunately, he's got a better 10. I can still survive if I can catch a high card on the river, but we don't. So that doubled him up, which hurt. And queen 10's a shove here. He calls on jacks. Meh. Got a queen on the flop, very nice. That works. A6 should be a shove. And he calls on king 8. And I've hit 3 of a kind on the turn. He's only out to 7, and bang, down it comes. Can't argue with that because I did the same thing. And ace 2, I think. I don't know. What have I got? 10 big blinds, 11 big blinds. Yeah, it's a clear call. He's got ace 4. Should be a split most of the time. But a 4 there on the flop, and then on the turn seals it. So that's 1 to him. Alright, next one. Min raising 2-4. Not going to do much with that. And here he tries his 3x again. I'd love to have something to shove out of that, but don't. And he seems pretty passive in this one. I think I'll call with queen 7 and just give up. So this sort of min raising and betting about 50% like I was doing in the turbos, it works okay. Alright, bunch of folding. And I raise my jack 4 and get a fold, and he's folding pre-flop. And min raise. If he shoved me there, I should fold. I'm sure his shoving range is a lot better than ace 5 at this number of blinds. Alright, not a great flop. I see bet and get a fold. Not great because I think it'll hit his calling range, or I'll have a draw on it a lot of the time, but luckily I take it down. Alright, and fold my 10-4. He limps, and here I've hit middle pair. This is the exact spot where I messed up last time on a very, very similar flop. And now I check it behind because I think the king's a bad card. It'll hit his calling range, his limping range. You know, if he doesn't have a 10 or a jack or a king, I'd be surprised. And I've got no kicker, so I better give that up. Alright, queen 5, raise. And we've got the queen of spades. Don't think he's going to have an ace if he flattered me pre-flop. And therefore, I've probably got the best spade draw. So, you know, if he shipped here, I'd probably think I'm I've got like possibly an overcard if he's got like lower cards, you know. May just have a bare flush draw, but with 180 chips in there, I'm probably going to call. And he folds, which is good. And then I bet this one. I don't think this is going to hit his limping range much. Fire the turn, the second barrel, because I think he should be folding, but he's not. I've horribly misjudged it, so now I'll just check and give up. Never mind. Bit spewy perhaps. Here I shove, thinking back to that 2-2 hand, thinking, you know, I wish I had a shoved that one, and he folds, which was a bit of a waste of 8-8, I guess. Alright, and here I try and, with an overcard and a gut shot, I bet the turn, take it down, that was nice. Raise, bet, and yeah, I mean, I'd love a 7 to come. And here he bets full pot. I'm wondering what he's got. The only hand that kind of makes much sense to me, I mean, I don't think many 2s have been his range. I mean, possibly, but I wouldn't think so. What would he have? King 2, possibly. Maybe he had 6-7 suited or something, which would make sense. But anyway, I give it up. Alright, Queen 4. He limps, and this one isn't going anywhere for me. I have to give it up. 10-8. I'm down to 8 big blinds. I shove it and run into aces. Very nice. And even more ironic, I've hit 2 pair on the turn and I'm drawing dead. Lovely. Never mind. Alright, so I lost that one. He limps and I shove my ace-5, and I just figured over his limp that I could take a free blind here, and ace-5 was good enough over a limp, and he's got 8s and hits one on the flop, but I can still hit runner if I catch exactly what 2-3 or 6-7. I catch a 3 on the turn and 2 on the river. That was just a wee bit lucky, but you know, bad luck. Alright, limp my ace-8, and the reason I limp is I was hoping he's going to shove, and he didn't. And he calls, and that's not a very good turn card, so I guess we're going to give this one up. We tried, and we died. Alright. And top pair here. Just bet it out, hoping to get some action, and he folds. Min raising, and he shoves. Very nice. Alright. So, just continue to min raise. Pretty good flop here, hitting the middle pair. The question is, would I get it in if he shoved? And I don't know. I've bet a slightly larger c-bet here to try and discourage him from doing anything silly, and that worked. Right, pocket kings, yum, except for the fact that he folds. And not really, don't have much of a plan here except for keep on going and see what happens. Limp my queen 8 and he attacks it. That's interesting. And the reason I did that, I really wanted to see what he was going to do over my limp, just in case I could limp a stronger hand later. And he c-bets 20 to the 80 pot, which is weird, but I'm just going to flat it and see what happens. And now he slows down, and I try and take it away from him, and he calls me. And at this stage, I was really thinking to myself, I have no idea what he's got. And when he checks the river, I was thinking either he's got something like ace-4, or he's got ace-5 or ace-6. And he actually had ace-6. I mean, that was what I was thinking at the time. They were the only hands that were really making sense. I think he would have bet another barrel on the 7. Okay, so we took that one down, which was nice. Pick up 2-3, lovely. And stab here. I think I'm probably ahead most of the time on this flop, but he calls me, and the 6 is just a terrible card. So I'll just give up now. Alright, 5-10, raise, and it looks like a good flop to me. It shouldn't hit his calling range much. I have a stab, and he shoves, so obviously it did hit his calling range. I just thought it wouldn't. Alright, Jack 7, and check. Bet the turn here for value, getting value from a king or a 9, or possibly an 8. And yeah, the flushes come in, but I'm still going to bet, partly as a blocking bet and partly as value, just in case he wants to call me down with a worse hand, which is possible. He might have called, might have a king here, and he actually calls me on a king 7, which Not the greatest call, but it was right, obviously, for me to bet the river. Alright, min raising, and here he shoves. I do not think he's got an ace. I think he's got a 4 or a draw, and I don't want to get it in there, so give it up. And he limps, and I raise my kings, and then he shoves, which is obviously very nice. He's got ace king. Unlucky for him. It's a standard spot to get it in. Diamond on the turn, but we fade the river. And as I say, unlucky, but you know, it's the way it goes. Alright, and this, let's have a look at this one. This guy 3x's me, so let that go. And then he shoves over my min raise. He's looking very aggressive, like a 3x and then a shove, we shall see. Limps, and here I just shove. Now this I think is an interesting spot. I don't think he's going to have an ace if he's limped, and therefore he could have a draw. He could have a better 7, in which case I'm going to lose the match probably, but I think a lot of his range here is going to be air, and I'm just going to shove and not give him any room to bink on the turn, and he folds. Alright, queen 10 I limp because he attacked my min raise before, and I'm just pop controlling. I'm going to call this, and then when he checks the turn, try and take it down, which works. So obviously he's donking pretty weak there. And the 3x again, I'm going to just shove over that, and he's got king 2, which I think is a pretty ordinary call. And he actually turns out to have a whole bunch of outs on the flop, catch a 3 or a spade, which is a bit unlucky for me, but luckily we hold. And if he's going to call on king 2, then it looks like the right sort of opponent to play. Alright, the next guy, Pokery JJ, and I just take a stab at this very dry board, pick it up. That's pretty standard. And this is an interesting spot. I bet, and he raises me to 120. This is not like the sort of hand I expect him to have a draw. I expect this to be actually a pretty strong hand, but I can't imagine what he's going to have, considering that his call, the board's 2, 3, 4. I mean, I don't think he's going to have ace 5. He shouldn't have 2 pair here. I've got a gut shot and 2 overs, but I just think I'll give it up. I mean, I've still got plenty of chips. Alright, ace ace, and he 3x's me. I just raise him back to 140. Don't want to scare him off. And he sticks it in with 3s, which is fairly standard, and I hit what's pretty much the nuts, and that's all good. Now we just got to try and finish him off. Jack 3, he's got 6 big blinds, and I fold. Not sure what Nash says, but I'm not sticking in with Jack 3 there. And I will stick it in with 8-10 suited. He folds. 2-6, I'm not going anywhere. And 5-7, I've got outs, but none of them are coming. And he limps here, and I think it might be a trap, so I can't shove. I have a stab here and get raised, so I think he limped a strong hand, but I'll just give that up. And he's coming back into this rather nicely for him. Alright, queen 5, and I could make a move here by shoving. I don't think it's going to hit his range much, but I'll just stay cool. And there he shoves. King 6, what is it, almost 13 big blinds. I'll let that go. Better spots are coming, I hope. Shove my ace 3 and he folds. Pocket 3s are lovers, get it in. And he folds. And king 5, I mean it's a lot different shoving king 5 to calling king 6, because obviously there's a chance for him to fold, and I think I'll shove king 9 as well. And he's got king 2, he seems to love king 2. And he's got a lot of outs here, you can catch a diamond or a 2, but we fade them all. Not sure what he's calling on king 2, I think that was a bit loose of him. But anyway, so that's the end of this Super Turbo video. Quite a few interesting spots, I thought. I played pretty ABC, you know, just straight down the middle with quite a bit of aggression, shoving over limps and that sort of thing. Hope you've enjoyed it, and until the next time, run good.